All right, we're live. Welcome to the Memberverse Podcast, where we interview people making a real impact on the growth of the fitness industry. I'm your host, Dave Pancham, CEO of Go Pancham, your fitness marketing agency focused on freeing up your time and increasing your bottom line. Today's guest is Manny Ceara, the Chief Energy Officer. Manny's a sales and operations expert who's been pivotal in the success of fitness franchises. Manny served as the area developer and senior director of sales and operations for the entire Orangetheory Fitness network. Now he's an executive consultant and a true pre-sales guru. Manny, thanks for joining us today. To get started, can you share a bit about your journey from how you got into the fitness industry to overseeing sales of Orangetheory and now becoming a highly sought after consultant in the fitness industry?
Well, listen, Dave, thank you for the greeting and the introduction. Thank you for that. I like to think I earned that introduction, and I'm going to tell you exactly how. But for the viewers, I know that's not why we're here, but it's a cool story. So let me just start with where I started. I was a studio manager, if you could believe that. Back, Orangetheory is just such a big monster now, but it wasn't always a monster, right? We started off with, back in the day, we started with the 1 and the 2 and the 4 and the 8, and that's how we built that brand together. My first role for the company was a studio manager at number 0008. Now, for those of you who know South Florida, that's down here in Weston, Florida. It's more south. And I was able to bring a lot of big box know-how. But now I went from big box thinking to boutique application. It wasn't like a overnight thing. It took me a few weeks to figure things out. But thankfully, Dave, I figured things out rather quickly. I'm proud of that. And fast forward, my first year, I had the number 1 net gain studio in the network. It was a small network, right? Not like today. But I also had the lowest attrition in the network. So a lot of things that I think a lot of your attendees here on the call today might want to hear more about. It's okay. We can net the members all we want, but how do we keep them? That's loyalty, and we'll talk more about that later. So once I got to that point where we went from almost I walked into 120 members. I left with a lot more than that after my first year. Call it around the 400 or 500 mark. I said to myself, okay, what can I do now? And this is a funny story. Maybe someone can relate to this, but do you know what an audible gulp is, Dave? Do you know what that phrase is, audible gulp?
No, never heard that before.
You probably saw it in cartoons, right? Like when someone's nervous, you hear boop.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Right? So one day I realized that I was bigger than that. I knew that I was bigger than just one Orangetheory studio. And if you're listening out there, if you know you're bigger than what you're doing now, open doors, because that's exactly what I did. So I sat down with my franchisee. I said, franchisee, I won't say her name, franchisee, this is it for me. I'm going to go ahead and spread my wings. I want to fly higher, soar higher, and that's what I want to do. And that's where, right? The audible gulp, I heard it. And, obviously, she was a little nervous, disappointed, but it was great. So then now here's the story. So from that conversation, I resigned, and I was heading over to, you remember 24-Hour Fitness? I know it's not around anymore. I left. I was going to leave big box. I was going to leave boutique to go back to big box until I got a call. Okay, I got the call that changed. You ever hear that story? Like it changes, you're at a fork, right? And you can go this way or that way. I got the call that changed my life. Really, I mean it. And it was from Dave, our founder, friend, mentor, Dave Long. He called me. He's like, whoa. Time out. Before you leave, come on in. I have something I want to talk to you about. And Dave, I was lucky because I was making that kind of noise when we were still small. So out of 22 studios in the entire country, we knew the top performers and the bottom performers. So Dave noticed, they noticed, he called me. And then the next thing I know, I'm driving 3.5 hours from South Florida to Orlando to become area developer for Orangetheory Fitness for Central Florida, North Florida, and I eventually took over NorCal. And I had at one point about 23 Orangetheory studios under my belt. I was managing them for the corporate office. And, that's where I went from, studio manager, area developer, and then fast forward to my senior director of sales and operations for the entire network. And then I'll put a cherry on top, and I'll turn it back to you. Cherry on top is at the end of 19, get this, timing is?
Pre-COVID?
No, timing is what? Fill
Everything.
the blank. Everything. I remember vividly when I was signing off as that senior level executive for that $1 billion brand that I helped build. I signed off and I said, you know what? I want to be a franchisee. I want to be an owner. I want to use the tools I made for a wonderful network, and it worked. So true story. It was October of 19, November, December, January, February, March. 5 months later, the world stopped spinning. COVID slammed the door on a ton of potential. But what I'm proud of also, Dave, and I'll shut up. What I'm proud of, we didn't close one of my 5 studios. I left corporate to buy into 5 studios here in South Florida. We didn't close one. I brought most of them back to pre-COVID numbers with a lot of energy, with a lot of action, with a lot of just know-how. And ultimately, we got a good offer to exit, and my partner and I took it. And here I am, executive consultant, sharing my lessons. Want to make sure that I can deliver value where it's needed.
Love it, man. I actually want to, obviously have a number of questions that I have kind of pre-planned that I was thinking about talking, but I think I really want to actually just dive in right there. Because it's 5 studios that did not shut down. And I would imagine, do you remember roughly speaking, like what level were these studios at pre-COVID? What were the numbers like for these gyms then?
Yeah, I would say 2 of the 5 were considered underperforming in Orangetheory standards. One or 2 were there, and 1 was just getting there, right? And in terms of like member counts, right? We all want to talk about break evens and all that. For our standard in that brand, we thought 500, 600 members was about right. For it to be a healthy, productive Orangetheory studio. So that's how I walked in. That's where they were. And then sure enough, when I first got in there in October, I'm not a magician, right? It took me time to get in and learn the team and, figure things out. But I would say within the first 30, 60 days, we already saw, the ramp up, right? Just better operations, better systems, better training development, which I'm passionate about. I love educating. I love coaching. I'm a motivational coach by nature, so I think all that led to overall better production and performance. And then nobody saw that coming.
Yeah. I mean, can you dive a little bit deeper there? Because I think there is no harder time to grow a gym than in COVID. Like, even if we have a recession coming, like if you survive COVID and got a gym out of that, you can kind of handle anything. How did you guys, what was the process? What did you guys do to turn things around? Obviously, you mentioned some things about operations. Obviously, I'm sure sales, lead generation, retention, so many things are going to come into play with that.
That's a good question. And for some reason, it takes me back to one of my full staff meetings post-COVID. And I thought leaders lead, right? You shouldn't see me sweat if I'm leading the troops, right? And, sure enough, I had my questions. What you don't know, Dave, is at the same time the world stopped spinning, my world started spinning a little bit quicker. I had a daughter. I had my baby daughter, my beautiful, healthy, brilliant baby daughter on March 20th. So get that. So the world stopped spinning on the 19th. Why not? Let's throw a kid in the mix for this guy. Right? I mean, that was the life that I was living there. Anyway, so this goes back to what brought me back to one of my full staff meetings post-COVID. And I think one of the things that got me through it, because if I can't get through it, how am I going to expect someone else to go through it if I don't know how to manage and deal and what practices are working for me? And I got to tell you, I'm gonna nail something here. I think it's impactful. Control what's in your control. My full staff meeting, I remember vividly, like it was yesterday. I had my full staff there, every head coach, every manager, every, marketing, fitness, everybody was in one room in West Delray. I'll never forget it. And we sat through a family meeting. It was really like a little bit after COVID. Everybody has all these questions. Am I losing my job? What's next? What are we doing? That's when we were averaging like 10 cancels an hour. It felt like every time the phone rang, like nobody wanted to take the call. Like I would be the one in the studio taking the call, and imagine the pressure of what those calls did to, let's just say, a studio manager who was already busting their ass to get the studio up and running and productive. Now they're sitting here watching all their hard work just slip away with every ring. So one of the main themes of the meeting was, okay, I drew a line on the whiteboard. By the way, I love whiteboards. A line down the whiteboard, and I said, okay, gang, let's talk about it. We're not leaving here until we fill out this board. What's in our control and what's out of our control. And I'm a big believer. One of my favorite books is a book called Fish. I'll never forget it. It's such an easy read. It's like 40, 50 pages, whatever it is. It's like a quick read. And the moral, I'll save your listeners time. The moral of the story is your attitude is a choice. You walk in with your attitude. No one gives it to you. And on the board, under what's in your control is your attitude. What are you bringing? What are you going to walk into your studio with today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year? And it's kind of what kind of was cool about it, because it was collective. They started chiming in, right? Like energy. Yeah, energy is in our control, I believe. You don't need an espresso every 20 minutes. By the way, quick note, I actually don't drink coffee. If I drank coffee, I would be running through the screen right now. It wouldn't be good. But attitude, energy, focus, just those things, the intangible things started coming out. And then what was really cool is when we started going down the what's not in our control. You know what wasn't in our control? COVID, member sentiment, member opinions, member attitude. Just like, oh, so when we get a cancellation call, we didn't cause that. That's not in our control that members are calling to cancel. It's where they're at. So it was really cool to paint the picture, kind of walk through it was a great exercise. By the way, you don't have to wait for a pandemic to do that. If you're in a leadership position today, yesterday, today, or tomorrow, you'll be amazed if you do that in your next staff meeting. And it just opens eyes, it opens perspectives. And then now they start thinking, oh, I can do, she's right, he's right. That is in our control. That's what I'm going to focus on today.
That can be applied. You don't need to be in COVID to do that. You can do that with any situation that you're in. Whether you're a successful gym owner, struggling gym owner, that's something you got to check yourself with right there.
Yeah. What's in your control. I mean, if you're a gym owner, okay, and you don't like where you are in terms of performance, member count, what have you, you have no idea how impactful you are when you walk in your building. Like, that is your choice on how you walk in. So remember that, gym owners, fitness managers, leaders, how are you walking in?
Mm-hmm. I love it. That's the first piece to recreating your gym and fixing whatever situation you're in, is the attitude and energy that you actually bring to it.
Yep.
Right.
It's like baking, right? You can put all the ingredients, you need a little salt, crack an egg, whatever. The ingredients that it takes to bake a great pie. But are you smiling while you're baking, brother? Are you just grudging through? Are you whisking with a you know what I mean? I don't know if that resonates. I don't know. That's my crazy analogy. But are you smiling while you're baking, brother? That's my question.
I love it. I love it. So let's get into some of the tactics here, because you've obviously come with a wealth of experience, not only in the network, the Orangetheory network, but you obviously have big box training and everything that you've done over there. And then, of course, did you say it was 22 studios that you had under your belt at one point in time, and probably other managers and stuff like that had other studios? So Orangetheory is well known for being like probably the most successful fitness franchise ever. Right. Yeah. So how did you help these teams? How did you help the direct, reports that you worked with, maybe other like sales and operations managers that saw locations that you work with directly? I'm sure you saw a lot of locations. You're like, this one's not performing well. How did you, what was the implementation process? What was the strategy to help these people get back up to speed? I'm sure a huge portion of it's going to be probably simple things, right? It comes down to lead generation, converting these people, keeping them longer, right? What were some of the strategies that you took there? I'm sure like some people have the best of markets and it's easy for them. And then there's some people that have saturated markets and it's more challenging for them. What were some of the approaches and strategies that you took? Because I'm sure that those all still apply today.
Yeah, I remember, at one point I was on a plane every month flying to SFO, San Francisco. We owned the NorCal market. So imagine trying to manage, not only Orangetheory Studios, but two coasts, at the same time. So I think one of the first things I think I would say in terms of strategy wise is, I will say maybe I had an advantage, or I don't want to say unfair because I earned it, but I was walking in with the credibility already. Like I think, to be a great coach, you have to have credibility. They have to believe you. They have to know that you know what you're talking about. And you don't need years of productive Orangetheory management or any, management to prove that you know what you're talking about. You can prove it in 30 seconds. You can create credibility in 30 seconds. You want to know how?
Yes.
Next time you're in your gym, in your studio, in your region, when that phone rings, answer it.
Meaning like do the dirty work.
Answer it. I'll give you a quick story. I'm a consultant. So I had the privilege of consulting for, after I sold my studios, I got a few calls, right? I'm lucky enough and privileged enough to know that I kind of earned my brand within a brand. So people knew what Manny meant. So I got a few calls and somebody wanted to invite me to their market for a week. It was an in-depth week consulting mission. It was a mission. Get in there, see who I have, see what I have to do, and help me get there. And they knew my name, but they didn't know me. The first studio I walked into, I said, "Hi, my name is Manny. I'm here to help you build, grow, and be successful. And I think I know a few things. I hopefully you can learn a few things from me in this week that we have together." She was like, "Yeah, absolutely, Manny. Thank you. We're happy to have you." That was just lip service at that point. The phone rang. She went to go pick it up. I said, I got it. I pick up the phone. "Hi, thank you for calling Orangetheory. Beep. This is Manny speaking. How may I help you?" Fast forward about 4 minutes. I had booked the appointment with credit card on file and got a referral.
Here we go.
I hang up the phone. I didn't say a word. I said, "How was that?" And I'll never forget it. She looked me square in the eyes and she said, "Whoa." That's all I needed. So I think in terms, going back to the question, like what strategies do you need to bust out and start the growth process again, is I think first things first, you figure out your credibility. Do people believe you when you speak? I think once you get that under your belt, you have a better platform. Like we have a platform here right now. We're talking, you have your agency. I have my background and experience. Hopefully people can listen to us and learn a few things today. But I think make sure your credibility is intact and then do it. Like prove that you have it and lead from the front. And I think that's what I did in my time. So whenever I walked into a studio, it was phones down, eyes up. Phones down, eyes up. Let me grab a phone call. Let me observe this intro process. Let me listen for 30 minutes. Let me see what's happening, because you can't really dissect a problem until you see it. Like, you can read any report you want. You can read any, the data will get you only so far. I would tell you, you got to see it, touch it, taste it, feel it to really get an idea of what's happening in that particular business, to have an idea of what to do next.
I love that. That's talking about setting the tone. Did you ever find that owners had to, because way different from if I'm the struggling owner and this consultant comes in and he just sets the tone. How do I do that if I'm just an owner, right? And I'm like, I need to get people to believe back into me. Did you find that owners had challenges with that? And if what was the coaching that you gave them to get that mindset? Because it really comes down to mindset here.
Glad you said that, because mindset was in my mental notes for this call. Two types of owners I've noticed in my time: the ones that are there, ones that are not there. And in the early days, people don't know this, but in the early days of our expansion, we practically only had owner operators. I mean, they cut the checks. They came to our franchise training, franchisee training, which, by the way, I owned the pre-sale day, by the way, for the entire, I had a whole day to myself, pre-sale. But owner operators. And then once it got to a point where we knew what we had and they knew what they had, and they were able to scale with with the staffing and the people plan, that's when they started going into the number 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s. And I think, to answer your question, how do you get your credibility as an owner when you're trying to rebrand and rebuild your business? If you hire someone like me to come, I'll fly in, I will inject the lighter fluid into your business. That's no doubt. But what I would tell you is that if you wanted to keep the fire going, you got to be there when I'm there, not when I'm not. Do you get that? So the owners who are committed and are part of the process are the ones that I think are going to end up winning.
Yeah.
If you hire a consultant, to come in, first of all, make sure they have credibility, make sure they know what they're talking about, make sure, that whole side is done, like we talked about. But if you just hire someone to come in and here are the keys, drive this plane, right? Go fly this plane for me, and I'll see you on Friday. And then, okay, if that's what you want me to do, I mean, I don't recommend it. And then I go back on Friday, I'm like, okay, we're averaging 35,000 feet. We are on a wonderful, clean path, no clouds in the sky. We are headed right to Honolulu. All you gotta do is keep it flying, brother. Okay? Mm-hmm. I hand the keys back. Guess what? He doesn't know where the check engine light is. He doesn't know where the low fuel gauge is, he or she. They don't know what this monitor is reading. You guys, mm-hmm. I'm into analogies. And then before you know it, 6 months later, it's Mayday, Mayday, Mayday again. So what I feel like is, if you want to do it right, you want to get your credibility back, you want to make a change in what you're experiencing as a business owner, sit in the co-pilot seat. Don't go in the back.
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree with you on that.
Good.
There's a lot to pull from some of these things here. When a gym, so let's say the gym is struggling, right? Or talking about what I can control and I can't control. I can't, like, my gym is already placed right here. I can't go move it to a different market. And I'm like, oh, my market's saturated, or it's harder over here, or there's more, I have so much more competition, right? That's the case. It is what it is, right? This is the situation you're in. But if I'm not where I need to be, it also is going to take probably a decent bit of energy to move this to the next level. You can't just keep on doing the same thing that you've been doing. So if I'm a studio owner where that's the position that I'm in right now, maybe I'm kind of break even-ish, maybe a little bit under that, and I got all these things that are going on that are out of my control, that are probably making it more challenging for me than Bill, who has the awesome tier 1 market, nobody else, no competition or anything like that. What do I need to probably do here to start to succeed in my current situation? Taking full ownership, what should I go focus on?
Yeah, there's a phrase that I coined in my franchise training, and actually we fell on pre-sale day, funny enough. And I think this ties in really nicely with what your question, what you're asking, is, have you ever heard of a mirror moment, Dave? A mirror moment?
Look in the mirror?
Yeah. I would say, if you find yourself in that situation and you kind of know what has to happen. I mean, look, these business owners, they worked hard to get to where they are. Like, it's not a mistake. You know, they had the financial means, they had the energy, the passion, the focus. They got there, right? But like everybody, we all need a coach. We all need a coach, no matter who you are, from the sales associate at XYZ Fitness to the chief executive officer of 123. You need a coach. So I would say, and when I spoke about pre-sale, I said, okay, I just spent the whole day walking you through the pre-sale plan that if you follow this playbook, you should achieve and exceed your 500 recurring memberships on day one. Then it got real, right? Okay, so you know what it takes. And sometimes I had a mirror with me, kind of just drive the point home. Now let's take a mirror moment. Are you the one that's going to do this? And I'll explain like an example. Like, look, if you're going to be a leader, you have to know and want to lead. You got to be energetic naturally. You got to be extroverted. You got to have the mindset. You got to have the right attitude. It's like all these things started coming in. And you know what happened in those franchise trainings? And I'm so grateful that it did. Some people raised their hand and said, Manny, that's actually not me. Thank you for bringing that up, because I'm not the one that's going to be at business networking meetings. I have these other businesses I'm managing, but I want to be a part of this. But thank you for saying that, because I never thought of it that way. So I feel like if you want to get out of where you are, take a mirror moment, answer the question, is this me, or do I need to find someone to get this done? Mm-hmm. And you talk about energy. Hey, it's also okay to be honest, man. Like when you put that mirror up in your face and you're like, you know what? I've already put 7 years of my energy into this. We're not where I want to be. Maybe it's not me right now. Maybe I do need to rethink my people plan. Maybe I need to find who I have on the team or find a new way through this, because it might not be me. The easy answer is, yeah, that's me. Sign me up. Get out of my way. Let's come up with the plan. I'm going to get cooking tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Yeah, right? But that's not always the case. Mm-hmm.
So I think you could probably go on for days with pre-sales, and I think I want to actually touch on that, because I think, you know, launching your gym properly, there's probably so many things that can be taken from there and applied to an existing gym. So can you actually walk me through, like, you know, I know you have a whole day with every franchisee, or all of the franchisees when they come in, talking about pre-sale process. Walk us through what a successful pre-sale process is, because you know what, gyms are still open.
I would say a successful pre-sale, it sounds weird, but a successful pre-sale starts with belief. Do you believe that if I invest this much money, this much time, and commit this much effort, I'll see the reward at my grand opening? I really believe that. I think it's belief. Do you believe that the whole pre-sale game plan works? Because if you don't believe it, you're not going to do it, man. You're not going to do it. You're going to just do it half-ass. You're not going to commit the financial resources, the recruiting, the training and development. You're just not going to do it. So I think that's where it starts. I think, do you believe in pre-sale and the value of pre-sale? And by the way, I have about 1,000 Excel spreadsheets to prove to you that pre-sale works.
Why would somebody not believe that pre-sale works?
Maybe they haven't seen it. Maybe they're new. Maybe they're new to an industry. Maybe they're new to the brand. Maybe they heard things. Maybe they haven't seen it for themselves.
So is there an assumption that, like, you know, if I build it, they will come, and I open the doors and people will show up? And
a lot of that.
Before that?
A lot of that. That started happening towards the later stages of you know, not really Orangetheory, because I think we did a pretty good job of driving the point home that pre-sale was part of our model. But sure, look, I mean, has people got successful and productive studios were popping up left and right. Hey, do I have to still spend the X amount to get my 500 members? Maybe not. Maybe I have an infill business with 3 of the locations within 4 or 5 miles of my center. I don't have to spend the awareness. I don't have to do the awareness campaign like I used to. So there's a lot of that going around too. But going back to your question about how does pre-sale translate into an open business? I think one of the mistakes is that pre-sale stops. How about that?
Tell me more.
I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that business owners do is they think pre-sale stops. Now, technically speaking, pre-sale is through a grand opening and then you're open for business. So there's no more pre-sales. But the concepts, the mindsets, the activity, the actions of a pre-sale campaign should never stop.
Talk to me about those activities.
I think the easiest one is 3 words. 3 words. Get out. There's only so much what's in your control, right? Not in control, right? You can control, for the most part, right? You control the member experience. You can control your bathroom having toilet paper in the dispenser. You can control those things. But then when you go outside of your studio or your center or your business, then you start getting things that you can't control. I think if you can get out there, revisit some of the things that have worked so well for so many pre-sale campaigns before, and a crazy thing happens. You start paying less for leads. That's a good start. You start getting more brand awareness without necessarily paying for it. And I'm speaking directly to paid ads. Sorry, Dave. I know that's a part of the business. You have to do paid ads, but I feel like there's another side of it that only could support what you guys do. Because I bet you the number one complaint is, cost per lead quality, no one's closing and . So again, you asked me how pre-sale can help today. I think all the pre-sale activities that you've done, getting out there, sponsorships, even something as simple as tabling, such a tried and true practice in a pre-sale campaign is how many tables do you have scheduled next week? And when I say like tabling, I am literally talking about a 6-foot table, your branded tablecloth, your spin wheel, your swag, and your QR code. That's what I'm talking about. And I can promise you, if you've done your legwork, if you have some awareness, you've been in business for a few years, people should know about you. I hope they know about you. And those conversations are easier than you think. And I think one other thing comes up is, well, Manny, how do I start? How do I start those conversations? I haven't been out in a while. I've been cooped up in my business. I haven't really had a chance to get out there like you're telling me. How do I start? Now I'm going to share something with you that has stayed with me over the years. One of my mentors, Phil Kaplan, I'll say his name, one of my early mentors. I'll never forget it because I was a young GM of a big box gym here in actually Weston, Florida, down here. And he said something so profound. I'm going to share it. He goes, Manny, when you're out there and you're building relationships, you're building bridges, you want to be able to walk back and forth. And when you're doing those things, leave the pamphlet in the car.
What does that mean?
Glad you asked. Be a customer first. Be a consumer first. Be a fan first. So when he tells me, is how I took it, leave the pamphlet in the car. Don't make the mistake of one of your first visits to a new business in town that you're trying to build a relationship with. Don't walk in with the brochures. Don't walk in with the fishbowl. Leave it in the car. First things first, walk in, order a sandwich, introduce yourself to the owner or manager, say, hey, my name is Manny. I actually own 123, fitness around the corner, and we're just finding ways to get out. I'll take a number 3. How's number 3? What's better, 3 or 4? All right, I'll do a 4. And then, hey, you know what? By the way, if it's okay, here's my card. Do you have one? I want to reach back out to you so we could talk more some other time. Because what people also make a mistake of is thinking that those are short runways. I mean, that's why pre-sale is so critical, right? If you do pre-sale well, you're building the runways almost 90 days before you actually need to take off and ask for those tabling opportunities or those networking events or those corporate events, like what have you. So I think a big takeaway here is, if you're getting back out there, be a customer first and then build the bridge.
Yeah, it's reciprocation or law of reciprocity. Essentially, what you're doing there, it's like, let me give you something first. They'll feel more inclined. That way, you're not coming in as like a value taker. It's like, can you do something for me over here? What can I do for you first?
Yeah,
let's build a relationship.
It changes the whole conversation. And look, you're lucky to get the owner, right? Or if they're owner operator, they're usually there, right? But just start the conversation. Ask for the manager. The first thing they think of is something's wrong. Be like, hey, is the manager here? Why, are you okay? Is everything okay? Is the sandwich okay? Is there enough ice in the machine? What's the matter? There's nothing the matter. I just want to say hi. What a nice change, in this society of like trying to find everything that's wrong. Make things that are right. Just have a conversation.
So going back to the pre-sales here, right? The goal is to, I'm assuming if I'm correct here, goal is opening at 500 members.
Well, for us it was.
Yeah, opening at 500 members. What was the math of that, right? Like how do they work backwards? If we want to have 500 members, we need this many people, this many leads. Like, well, what did that typically look like? And then what were the activities now? Like, okay, in order to accomplish this, we need to do probably spend this much money on ads, and then you need to do these different kinds of things. What does that look like typically?
Man, if we had another hour, I can spin this and break it down for you like nobody's business. But let's just keep it high level for the listeners and all of us on board here today. It is a numbers game. Make zero mistake about it. It is and forever will be a numbers game. So we looked at how many leads did we need to net this many members. And now we can go into like, because pre-sale is unique, right? Or an open business, it's a little bit, there's a nuance there because in pre-sales, you don't really have, your workouts they do, but maybe you do. So you have what? You have your lead, your book rate, your show rate, your close rate, blah, 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 blah. I think what a number should be really telling for everybody on the call here today is I would even just get to one number and it'll help you start mapping out your strategy, I think, for the next few months is what percentage of leads become members. So I would even skip everything in the middle. I would say, okay, I have actual data because you do. And if they're with you, Dave, I know you got data. Out of 1,000 leads, I netted 100 members. Out of these, I can like attribution, right? Like to the T. Like, no, these 100 members came from these 1,000 leads. And you come to look at that 10% number. Could it be higher? Sure. I've had higher numbers. Could it be lower? Sure. You have lower numbers. And I think what that does, Dave, is that actually helps you figure out, okay, well, I'm getting the lead counts. Let's just call it 10%. If my goal is 100 members a month, new joins, and I'm getting 1,000 leads, well, I'm getting the leads, but I'm not getting the members. And then you work backwards. Like, okay, what's going on with my appointment booking strategy? Like, is there something that I can twist there? Like the big one for us was credit cards, right? And this factually, because I know you worked with it maybe as few Orange theories and all that. There's a reason why we were fanatical with credit cards on file. And quite frankly, to everybody listening, I think that should be an industry standard. Now, I don't think that you take appointments without teeth, with something there to keep not only ourselves accountable, but our prospects accountable. So then you start listening to some phone calls. Are we getting credit cards on these leads? How are those conversations going? Do I need to look at the script? Let me look at the word tracks. Let me dive in. So to answer your question is figure out what your lead to sale percentage is. And I think that might open up some more doors for you to figure out what's happening with your business.
Mm-hmm.
And then you asked me about, okay, well, that's fine, Manny, but then what if we're not getting to 1,000 leads?
How do you fill that bucket? Yeah.
How to fill that bucket. So then I would look at, okay, and it is what it is, right? But there's different franchisors use different numbers, but every franchisor requires you to invest X amount of percent of your gross revenue into marketing. There's a reason for that. It's, you listen to Tony Robbins, right? It's one of the pillars of any successful business. It's marketing. One of my favorite sayings of all time. I'm a 10X guy, Dave. I don't know if you're a 10X guy. Uncle G, Grant Cardone, if you're listening, I'm a 10Xer. Money goes where attention flows. Money goes where attention flows. So if you're not making enough noise in your market, you're never going to get enough noise in your market. And how do you do that? You got to have a piece of it with paid advertising. You got to pay to play. I believe that. Everybody else is there, but what I would say, Dave, don't. What's the word? Don't edit this out. What I'm about to say. All right. Don't bleep this out. All right. But my passionate plea to all the business owners on this call is never, ever rely on just paid ads to make your business go. I think that's the cardinal sin of any low performing, underperforming, let's just call it a fitness, any business really, but in particularly fitness. I think that is a cardinal sin. I think for the owners who got into this lull and they lost the vision of what it took to get here or what it takes to get out there again and build that awareness and get that pre-sale mentality back and move the needle again is, let me just put more money in paid ads. And I personally think that's a recipe for disaster. I think there's different avenues that get to your 1,000 leads. We actually did this in a breakout, how to get to 1,000 leads. It was really cool, probably in my toolbox somewhere. But like all the different things to do, like, so you got to have your paid ads, you got to have your outreach campaigns, you got to have your referral campaigns lined up.
Can you define, what do you mean by outreach campaigns?
Get out there. Just anything outside of your business. So think 5K sponsorships, think tailing events, think business networking. Dare I give you guys an idea? What if you call your local business organizer and instead of doing a networking event, how about a sweat working event? Make your sweat work. Host a sweat working event in your gym, fitness plaza, or fitness business, what have you. And how cool would that be? Instead of going out drinking, having, calamari, and a couple of beers, why not flip the script? How about you create a wellness movement in your market and say, you know what? Coming new offering. We're now inviting all business owners and leaders to XYZ Fitness to do our first ever sweat working event. We're going to shut the gym down just for this group. We're going to have protein shakes catered by XYZ Smoothie around the corner. We're going to have a block afterwards to talk about business and talk about, think about that. Think about how creative we can be with having fun getting out there again.
I love that approach, especially sweat working, networking. It's like you're approaching business owners. So for one, they're more than likely to be financially qualified to be your client. But not only that, they probably also have a network themselves that they can go introduce you to after.
Of course.
After the relationship is built.
Are we doing graphics here on this call, Dave? So if we're doing graphics, put the word networking here and then do a slash. Sweat working. You're welcome. So I think going back to marketing and 1,000 leads, how do we have 1,000 leads It doesn't happen with just paid ads. I think that's my point. And then I think also with referrals. Can we talk about referrals for a second?
Please, yes. I think
Okay.
so.
Stop the insanity. Have your attention?
Yes. Okay. What does that mean?
The best, one of the best referral campaigns I've personally ever done was 1 week. So here's what I mean. You know what the wallpaper effect is, Dave, when it comes to marketing?
No. Not familiar.
So if you walk by an ad on Monday, you see it. You see it on Tuesday, you kind of see it on Wednesday, and by Friday, it's wallpaper. You don't even notice it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what happens, in my humble opinion, and it's just a different perspective. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying it worked. Well, so many brands and businesses think that you need something like ongoing all the time to drive referrals. And here's what I think is the miss. I think it becomes wallpaper. Mm-hmm. I think, if you advertise something on January 1st, by January 15th, it's over. Like it's like Charlie Brown. Wah, 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 wah. So I would say, let's own the wah, wah, wah. Let's own it. Let's flip the script again. So instead of try coming up with the 1 month referral campaigns, imagine the power you'll have when you take a month to a week, but you own it, right? Like it is an all out blitz for 1 week only. And it's all about that one referral offer. I can give you a specific example. So if any of my Orangetheory friends are listening, you probably remember this, but we were struggling, we noticed that there was one of the metrics we look at is heart rate monitor sales, right? I mean, a lot of people out there use technology and tools. So we noticed that, we were, some of the regions and markets were lagging on heart rate monitor sales. And, I got into the lab, like they say, and kind of got with the team, and we kind of figured out, okay, what could we do different to drive this new campaign, or how do we drive more sales? And I said, well, guys, because I came from the field, right? I lived it, I breathed it. I had such a great feel for the lobby and the business. I just knew that it would work. So here's what I did. I mapped out what I called OT Beat Week, right? It's literally 1 week in the beginning of the week, in the beginning of the month, where I had, when I tell you, Dave, every layer, every fabric of that business was laser focused on that one message. I'll be telling you the truth. Everything from collateral, creative, pre-workout, post-workout announcements. I did things that I'm not even going to mention on this call that I think are kind of secret sauce. But I mean, just imagine when everybody collectively says, pulls in the same direction, right? Like a rowing team, right? Mm-hmm. Imagine how much faster, how much more efficient your marketing gets when everybody's rowing in the same direction, heading to the same goal. So, and that leads me back to referrals. So imagine if you have an incredible referral offer, let's just say, it's funny. One time, and I'm not spilling the beans here, I don't think, but many years ago, one of the ideas that I brought to the table was, we are a global brand here. Why don't we offer a world workout?
What was that?
Yeah. We did a network promotion. It was, I believe it was referral based, but we chose winners at the court. We chose winners, and we chose 3 winners out of the entire network, entire company. Members, by the way, not members. We chose 3 members to an all expense paid trip to the studio of their choice for a workout.
That's pretty cool. That's different.
Right? So, and what we found was, and it wasn't this drawn out 6-month thing, that was a broader in scale, right? So that was a cruise ship moving in like turning into direction. So that was not just a week. But
how did that translate into referrals though?
That was whoever refers the most people entered to win.
Oh, okay. Whoever brought the most referrals in.
Yeah. Like whoever referred the most got an entry into the win, into the challenge.
And every referral is an entry.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, imagine that, right? I mean, if you're a global brand on this call, imagine how cool that is. No one's thinking like that. And imagine the ROI on that. Like all the thousands of referrals joined our network, and it ended up costing us a few $1,000 to send Joe and Mary to, I think one person did pick Hawaii. Go figure, and like we have Honolulu, right? But I mean, that's kind of the thing that I want to go back to is referrals and campaigns and doing referrals right. Don't think long, don't think long, think short. Don't think I don't know how to phrase it, but you kind of get what I'm going. Less is way more when it comes to this kind of marketing.
Yeah. Do it in a sprint rather than this marathon where people just don't even realize you're running anymore.
Yeah.
And you're so right with that because one of our clients are one of the franchises that we work with. They, for a lot of them do like a 7-day trial offer. And they always tell all their members about it. Like the trainers are always letting them know, it's like, bring your friends in for a 7-day trial. And it's like nothing. I mean, they get referrals and stuff like that. And then we told them like, hey, why don't you like this week here? Why don't you just do it as a friends and family week, right? It's basically a 7-day trial, but it's only in this week, right? And so you've rewrapped the gift. And it was so funny. They were like, I got way more referrals than I've ever gotten before. I'm like, I don't understand why it worked all of a sudden. We tell them about the 7-day trial all the time. And it's like, same thing. It's the wallpaper effect. They got numb to it. And you all of a sudden repackage the gift and it sounded way more appealing.
That's exactly right. I don't love the week trial thing. By the way, I hate the word trial. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to get bleeped out?
No, who cares?
No. The word trial, instead of trial, how about you use the word preview?
Preview, VIP experience, just doesn't sound like, don't make it sound like that.
7-day preview of your exclusive membership at XYZ Fitness.
It's better positioning on it. Yeah.
Way better. Trial, this is going to sound funny. You can't, by the way, I know the spelling, but you can't spell trial without try. I think that we could do better. My humble opinion is I think we could do better than that. Even if you even look at something where maybe it's not a 7-day preview of your exclusive membership at XYZ Fitness, maybe it's less than that. And here's another issue that I think for your listeners to think about is, do you know why 1-week trials? Do you know why 1-week trials don't work? Or I shouldn't say they don't work. Do you know why 1-week trials don't work as well as they should? I believe that you have surgically removed the urgency in the offer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, surgical. I mean, there's nothing left. I got a week. I'll pop in on Wednesday. I'll give it a try and see where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've learned, I know you know this, if I've learned anything in my time as an owner, operator, director, brand ambassador, and this reminds me of my time when I went to, we did international franchisee training. I was there. I led that one. It was so fun. It was down in Sydney, Australia. We were talking about, how to get those franchisees moving. And a lot of the things are relatable, here and there. But, oh, darn, where was I going with that?
We were originally talking about trials.
Trials, yeah. So going back to trials, so it's like I give someone a 1-week trial with no urgency. Urgency is what moves people.
Mm-hmm.
Emotions is what moves people. 7-day trials don't move people. So one of the things that we were talking about in internationally is because of some nuances there, here and there, is does urgency translate? Guess what? It absolutely did.
Of course.
Why do you think we had one? It was one for that brand, man. One free workout. $1 billion brand. So I guess to put a bow on that, I would say when it comes to referrals, any campaigns, but specifically referrals, let's flip the script again. Let's rethink how we market referrals, and we can do more in less time. And if you want more details on that, look me up. Let's have a call.
Yeah. Speaking of which, we're definitely over on time right now, and I'm sure we can keep on going. We'll probably schedule another one. But this has been awesome, Manny. I'm sure probably some people have some questions for you. So if anybody did want to reach out to you to, find out how you might be able to help them or just chat, anything like that, any best ways to contact you?
Yes, there is. I would say, first things first, I have a website, www.mannyceara.com. That's MANNYCEARA.com. There's you scroll down to the bottom. There's a contact me there. You can do that. I'm getting more into LinkedIn. That's my LinkedIn account, Manny Ceara. And if you need my email address, no problem. It's mannyceara@gmail.com. And I'll be happy to take calls, questions. I love this. I love talking shop. Dave, I've known you for a long time, and I think you guys do a great job with what you guys do. And there's a reason why I wanted to work with you personally months ago now. And I also want to say that things like this are helpful. So thank you for inviting me. I had a blast. It's great talking shop with people who are in the shop. And I just want to thank you again.
Awesome, man. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate having you on.
Thanks so much. Bye, everybody.